So have you been keen to see a bit more of my conservatory and see how I'm growing my own indoor jungle? Stick around with me in this video and I'll give you a bit of a quick update and a bit of a tour on how some of the plants are doing in my collection at the moment. Hi, my name is Memo, this is my channel Houseplantygoodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion. You might be able to see somewhere behind me, it's tropical houseplants. First, I'd like to thank everybody for their patience whilst I was back home for a holiday? There's an expression over here called a busman's holiday, which is I'm kind of on holiday. I was working for my business whilst I was out there and also helping my family with their business. So this is me relaxing now that I'm back in the UK. That should tell you something. However, I don't know how these videos are going to come up now. I think this might come out first. If it does, the next immediate video to this one will be a tour of my mother's houseplants, both in Greece and in Cyprus. Some of them are indoors, some of them are on the balcony in Greece, and some of them are outdoors as well. And bonus round as well, like we've got a holiday home on the Peloponnese in Greece, and I will show you some common houseplants that we grow in the garden there. But without further ado, let's dive into me giving you some updates about my space here. So first off, let me kind of preface this by saying if you see any lights, just try to ignore them because there's only so much I can do when it's a horribly grey and rainy day here in the UK. But yeah, let me walk you around some of my space and I'll talk you through some of the plants basically. So coming onto the shelf that you can see right behind me here, you might be able to see, if I turn this around, this is the latest leaf of my Anthurium esmeraldens. Yes, there's a bit of cosmetic damage, but trust me when I say it is a sizing up considerably. I don't know if you're going to be able to see the other leaf. No, I don't think that's in shot. But this one, oh no, it is. I'm just being dumb in terms of what I can see in the viewfinder. But yes, two latest leaves. This is doing exceptionally well. What you might be able to see here, and let me see if I can pan you down. What you might be able to see here is if I move this leaf, you should be able to see what I'm holding right here. And this is the newest leaf of my Philodendron esmeraldens. And for the people that have not been here for very long, I do have two, and I will pan you down. And again, cameo to the yellow crocs, because I'm at home and I'm trying to be comfortable, basically. Where is it? There you go. You can kind of see them there. But this pot here is a propagation of the Philodendron esmeraldens, which is what you're seeing here, and that is in pon. And right next to it, this other plant, you might not be able to distinguish between the two. This one here is my original mother plant, and it is in soil. But other things that you might be able to see here is you might be able to see the newest leaf of the philodendron, the mother plant here. And if I can just get you to have a little bit of a peek, obviously apologies for the fact that you can see my remote, but right there is a new inflorescence for the Philodendron esmeraldens, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to have that there, because people that in the know have known that I have taken some pollen from the previous one, and I will see if I can propagate it. There is also another growing tip right back here. I do need to sort out my shelves, but at the moment I'm in the process of trying to salvage some of my plants after I've been away for 2.5 weeks, and I will get onto that in just a moment. But that's doing exceptionally well. The mother plant, both of them are doing really well. This one up here is the, what am I rocking? It is the Rhaphidophora hongkongensis, and it's doing really well as well. This up here that you can kind of see me kind of wiggling, that is a Philodendron, a Florida ghost, and that was a cutting that I took at least a couple of years ago. That's what I mean. I need to get rid of like leaves. And it's doing really well. That's in pon. It's always had a reservoir. I remember to water it when I remember to water it, and it's fine. And that should tell you something about the Philodendron Florida Ghost, is that this is a plant that I keep just kind of going, I'll water you when I water you and see how we get on. I've probably overwatered it, probably underwatered it. It's been fine. It's been relatively hardy. Now, what you might be able to see here is the Philodendron Esmeralda Spirit. And you can kind of see that leaf there. That one is doing exceptionally well. It's tricky to get that one down, but I will see if I can get down the Epipremnum. And this was a plant that I got from the rescue boxes from Kaylee Ellen and the Rare Plant Shop. Again, the people in the know why I'm holding a remote, because that's what's controlling the mechanism of the camera. But this one's doing really, really well. It's kind of still small. I've given it that new moss pole that I was telling everybody about, where I've got kind of like a very chunky arrowed soil mix in the back, and then I've got the moss in the front. If you want me to show you how I'm doing that, let me know and I can do a little quick video kind of update in one of the videos that I will bring up soon. But it's not kind of particularly rocket science. So far, so good with that one on everything that I've done it, because not only does it retain moisture a bit better, I find, than just pure sphagnum moss or pure cocoa chips, it's a lot easier to re-dampen, because I will link it at the top, my opinions about moss poles, and I am trying to change them. I did listen to you all. I am not one to say that I am absolute in my opinions. I will see if I can kind of get something to work. I am a stubborn ox. So I will see if I can get it to work. So far, this is doing okay. And it also kind of relieves me of having to kind of like dump water bottles on the top and let it like slowly percolate down. I can't. I've expressed my views. I'm not going to repeat them again in this video. But yeah, this is doing quite well. I can see some green roots, which I am so happy about. And yeah, doing well so far. This has actually only just started to take off properly since I've given it a moss pole. So in my opinion, this is one that does need a moss pole. The Philodendron Atipapoense, which is very similar to the, why am I blocking? The Billy Etier. But it's the one that's got the red back, so you might be able to see here. So, and some people used to call this the Santa Leopoldina, I think. I don't know if that's a different variant of it, but that is a plant that a lot of people want to get because it, in the original times, like pre being able to get the Spiritus Sancti a bit easily, the Santa Leopoldina, everybody would just say, it's the same thing. It kind of really isn't, but it is a very cool plant nonetheless. And I'm quite glad I got it in that rescue box. And I've got a couple of growth points, 1, 2, 3, 4 growth points that are happening in this pot, which is really, really good. Okay, what else can I show you? Ooh, I know what I can show you whilst I am here. Let me put down the remote. For the people that have seen this several times, I do apologize, but I am still very impressed with myself that I'm able to keep this plant alive. Didn't say anything about Thriver there, if you noticed. The people that know knew what I was going to pick up here, but that's the newest leaf of the Anthurium cuticuense. I know it might not look like an awful lot, but this chicken foot looking Anthurium, and you can see the oldest leaf is kind of yellowing off, and I just pulled that off. But this remains relatively moist for most of the time, and it has got the jankiest of moss poles, and this isn't just pure moss. So at some point when I will transition this onto something else, if it keeps growing nicely for me, this will get one of the newer moss poles, because I found that they work quite well. The other thing, whilst I am here, and I will bring this down so you can see it. Oh, I cannot tell you how much I love this plant. This is the Philodendron Heleniae subspecies Heleniae, and the strappy leaves for days. And I will say something that I can kind of go on record now, because I've grown these plants both for a while now. People that have been here for a while will know that I rave, and I still do, about the Philodendron Heterocraspidum. And let me see if I can pick one up to show you. Actually, let me not pick one up. Let me take you with me. So hopefully, let's see if you might be able to see it. I might bring it up so you can actually see it a bit closer. So this is the Philodendron Heterocraspidum, basically. And you can see it's kind of looking okay. It's got those ruffles down the leaves. This is a bit thicker leaved than the Heleniae. You do not want to know the setup that I have for this. It is so jank. It's not even, it's like, So there's, there's an air layering here because at some point the roots had all rotted. There is now soil, and I could see some roots that were happening down below. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you are looking for something strappy and you're worried that you've heard a lot of horror stories for this being a bit finicky, which I would agree at this point, I still love this plant, I would say go for the Heleniae subspecies Heleniae, because yes, the leaves are a bit fatter, basically, they're a bit wider, but that one is a much hardier, much easier plant. It's probably, I will go as far as say, one of my easiest to care philodendrons by far, and a consistent grower. This one takes a while to bring out new leaves, at least it has done in my experience. Granted, I've had minimal roots on this for a while, so bear that in mind. Now, the T on the situation where I'm saying about my plants and having to give them some care. And this is no shade whatsoever on the person that took care of my plants whilst I was away. They did a fantastic job. I have had no casualties yet. And I have spoken to the person that was caring for them, so they know. But yeah, it was one of those things, because they've cared for my plant in the summer and they were used to a lot of things being in semi-hydro. And as I've mentioned on my channel before, I have transitioned some things over to soil recently, and some of them have also got decorative pots, so cash pose. And yeah, let me give you an example. So you can kind of already see what the problem is going to be here. So a couple of things happened whilst I was away, because the individual was kind of filling it in the cash pose, and I'm just filling the cash pose. I didn't take the time to say how much. So I came back, and if that is the pot, the actual grow pot on the inside, and this is a cash pose, there was about that much water. More than half of the thing was filled up with water. And which obviously, as you can imagine, some of these things, everything, all the water got dumped out instantly, and I've kind of released most of the plants that had that issue, and they are currently in their pots with the holes, and I'm just waiting for them to dry out and see quite how much water damage and potential root rot has happened. To add insult to injury, however, and again, this is no shade because I should have been more specific, that individual did the same thing with all of my plants in a soil mix. So my plants in a soil mix had a water reservoir in them for God knows how long, possibly the whole of the 2 weeks. So my plants are okay for now. I don't know if that's still going to be the case in a couple of weeks' time. They are all currently drying. The one benefit I would like to see, the silver lining in all this, is that when I came back, I'm just like, I'm going to have to water nearly 300 odd plants. I didn't have to water nearly as many as all that, because they're all sapping wet, possibly with some root rot on them. And the reality is, yes, in a normal situation, I would like to take everything out, remove the soil, refresh the soil to get rid of the root rot, or refresh everything. I would guesstimate this has happened to at least 200 of my plants. I don't have that time. I work full time. I've got the chickens to take care of. I've got Juve the Labrador to take care of. That is not an option. So at the moment, I am doing the best that I can, which is just to let them air dry as much as possible. And I will let them all go relatively dry as much as possible to make sure that some of that rot kind of gets obliterated. I might potentially then, the next time I water, maybe kind of put through some hydrogen peroxide to kind of help kill off the rot. But hold this space, you know, that I'm going to be getting some plants recently from Ecuador. I might be replacing quite a few dead plants, so we shall see. But as I said, no shade to the person that took care of the plants for me. They did a great job. I just did not specify, don't do this for soil plants or only add that much of a reservoir. This is entirely on me, and I will take my lumps. But this is what I said. We all learn and grow from our mistakes. This one might have been pricey for me, but warts and all, you know me on this channel, I do not like to hide behind anything. I mess up as well as everybody else. It's very, very simple. Also, a little reminder for the people that have watched the video that I did a while back, and I will link it at the top there. I can't remember which video it was, but I was mentioning that some of the plants behind me, right here, so not the Dark Lord, actually, you know, the Dark Lord, the original mother plant of the Dark Lord, which is a very stemmy at the moment. There's a Painted Lady, there is a very mature leafed Philodendron pedatum. It almost looks a bit like the Glad Hands at this point, and a very mature Florida Ghost. They are going to be chopped up or potentially sent whole to anybody who wants them. Do give me a shout out. I think I did get one that has come through, and I need to go back to that individual. It's just been a bit really busy. If you do watch this video, I am sorry. I will come back to you. But yeah, have a look at the other video, because I give loads of like caveats about the fact that they have had mealybugs. Some of them still have mealybugs. I have been treating, and I will treat it before I send it out. So be aware of that. I'm not hiding that either. The other thing is, obviously, if nobody wants them, then they will just I'll probably take a top cutting for myself, and the rest will just end up going into the compost pile, basically, at this point, because I need more space, and they have served their purpose, and I just need to relieve some of that space at the moment. So that was a little kind of caveat there. But coming on to other shelves, the Philodendron melanochrysum that I'm trying to get you to see here is doing okay, surprisingly, because that for me has turned into a bit of a feral plant at the moment. I just kind of let it do its own thing. That might be another one. Some of the top leaves, even though I'm not growing this on a moss pole, have become quite sizable. So what I might do with that one again is take off the top and try to root it, and then start again from there, just to get a much more mature leaf all the way through. We talked about the Heterocraspidum, which I still love. And this one was one that was sitting in water, and I'm just like, no, I have only just got you to grow some roots. And some of these leaves were they go a bit kind of, they don't crinkle fully, but they kind of start kind of curling in on themselves. And they were doing that. And that's when it doesn't get a lot of water for root rot issues. It seems to have perked up. So I don't know. I'm hoping that this is still salvageable, basically. Some of the plants that I've got further down below here, for instance, this is the older leaf is looking a bit busted at the moment, but look at the newest leaf of my Forgetii. I am so happy with this one. It's kind of growing in quite nicely. Do I need to replace this at some point soon? Yes, something a bit bigger. This has also got an awful lot of algae growing in it, so I do need to give this a better lease on life. People that have been here for a while have watered again before I filmed, so epic mistake as always. But yeah, this is doing really well. And it's still bringing me joy. I have to say, I'm really quite enjoying the Forgetii more than I thought I was going to. And I think that is the case with a lot of my plants that have given me grief. So this one has kind of almost gone back to a stump 4 times now. And I have been able to bring it back stronger and stronger every time. So I think for me personally, it might be the same for you. I tend to bond more with the plants that make my life difficult, as in like that I've had several failures with, but they keep coming back and they're tenacious in their growth. Even the ones that I'm just like before, I'm just like, they're okay. That will change my opinion on those plants quite quickly. I like a fighter. Something that I don't show you very often, and I'm hoping some of you might be able to relate to this. It might look a bit busted, but let me show you. This is a water propagation vessel, because I didn't have anything else to put long cuttings into. So I lost out on, I think this is an IKEA watering can, a watering can that I had as an extra watering can, but it's doing its job. So these are some of the cuttings from the Philodendron Parisoviridae, which are pretty much fully green. I'm hoping it's going to start rooting out. I think it has. And there is, the growing tip is there. It's doing okay. It's taking its time. I know some people did say that it will propagate quite well in water. Considering how easily this thing roots generally, and I can see roots, it's doing fine. The other thing that I will say, and again, this is the kind of thing that I always try to remind people is, just because we all say something, it doesn't mean that it's absolute, basically. So a lot of the times they'll say don't have multiple leaves on a cutting because it puts too much stress on the plant trying to maintain those leaves and it doesn't root out. Let me show you a cutting. Oh god, this is rooted in a lot better than I thought. So this is my Philodendron attenue. And look at how many leaves on one cutting. But if I hide my face there, can you see how many roots? This has only been in here for, I want to say, 3-4 weeks. Yeah, no, actually, I probably cut this up and put it in here just before I went on holiday, so about 3 weeks, basically. And it has done exceptionally well. And I will actually say, surprisingly, this one now has more roots than the Paraíso Verde. So for the people in the know that do have a Paraíso Verde, that should tell you something. Right, moving on to some other interesting plants on here, basically. And this is, again, I watered, but this here is the Anthurium querumalens. But what I wanted to bring your attention to is this mangled looking newest leaf. That was the immediately previous leaf. That one was the previous one, and that was the oldest one. Now, the one thing I will say with this is a very thirsty Anthurium. For most of my other Anthuriums, I like to give them a bit of a semi-demi dry period. Not massively so, but they'll do well. This has got very fine, thin leaves, and the cosmetic damage was it just unfurling. I did not touch it once. So I do notice there's about a few of my Anthuriums, this being one of them, so the Anthurium querumalens. The other one is the Anthurium bullatus, and there might be another name for it, and I'll see if I can add it at the top. But both of these are exceptionally fast to rip leaves, even just by themselves by unfurling. So I don't necessarily mind it, but I know there's a lot of people out there that really like the notion of perfect leaves. In my experience, I would say maybe steer clear of these two specific Anthuriums because they have a tendency to rip super, super easily. And it is because their leaves are so, so thin. This one is velvety, the bullatus is more leathery. But yeah, so just bear that in mind. I have enjoyed growing this, I won't lie. It's been quite a joy to grow. Is it the fastest Anthurium I own? No, not even by a long shot. So it is one that if you're gonna get, this is one for the patient people out there, of which people that have been here for a while know that I am not. I'm coming into the plant shelf behind me. Some of you might have been able to see my Vitarifolium that's here. That needs watering today. You can kind of see that the leaves are looking a bit peaky, but I find that that always looks a bit dodge in the winter, and it really does kind of come back a lot stronger in the summer. Some of the newest leaves, which are the darker ones, this is a very old leaf here that's starting to yellow off and die off slowly. This is a very, very new leaf from this summer. It's a lot thicker. That one is fine. It's just the older leaves will kind of like come to the end of their lives. But over here, I've got Chewbacca's progeny. So that is my Begonia seismoria propagation. There is a very busted looking, let me see if I can pan you down a bit for this one. So there is a very, very busted looking Philodendron gloriosum stem pretty much now. There is one leaf at the end of this. This is probably, I'm debating whether or not this is just going to be gifted away to somebody that wants this, or whether or not I'm just going to cut it and try propagating it. I do have my other large gloriosum, which is right down here. And if I pan you down even further, you might be able to see me shaking the leaves down there. So this one, this one, this one, they're all kind of leaning towards the light at that point. But yeah, as I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with this one, if I'm being entirely honest. The one that is looking really, really good at the moment, there is some crisping that has happened, but that is probably because of what happened whilst I was away. But this is my Zara X Michelle hybrid Anthurium. And unfortunately, when it starts becoming a lot more mature, you start losing some of the purpliness. But I don't know if you might be able to see, possibly, you can see it on the white jumper there. Right there is a new leaf that's coming in. So I'm very excited about that. But this is growing relatively okay, I will say that. Ooh, on that point, I want to show you something else as well. So I did buy one of these a while back because I saw them come into the market, and the first one that I had, I tried it directly from soil, moved it into pond. It didn't particularly like it too much. I have since moved it into my propagation bin, which is right below there. And I thought it was on the way out, but I hadn't checked before I went to the garden centre yesterday and found another one. So I got a replacement. And this is nice to see some of these seedlings come into the market a bit more. Maybe it's just been here in the UK and Europe. Let me know if other parts of the world are seeing this come a bit more. This is a seedling of a Anthurium magnificum, I think this one is. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I'll add it at the top if I'm wrong. But this one I have since added into, I'll try this differently now because I am experimenting a bit more, and I've been okay with what I've seen, especially with my seedlings, using the Soil Ninja Anthurium mix. So I haven't done Anthuriums in a soil mix for a very long period of time, but so far what I'm seeing from my seedlings in that mix seem to be doing really well. And I've heard kind of comments from everybody that they're just like, they keep them in sphagnum moss for a bit longer, because I was saying how I was struggling with mine. And so far, I think a lot of you were right, actually. So this is doing quite well. The other one that is in the propagation bin and has brought out a new leaf, so that one might make it through. That one is in standard sphagnum moss, but it's getting better light than some of my other propagation bins because I've got a much better grow light on top of that. And for the people, before you ask, it's one that I got on Amazon. It's probably linked on my website. And for the people that don't know, a lot of the products that I might use, I might mention on the video, down in the description of all of my videos, there is at least the recent ones. Previous ones, there was individual links. Now, my swanky new website link is at the bottom on the description. And there is a section that is something like Memo's Faves or Memo's Favorites. That's where you'll find all the products that I like to use. And that one is Grow Cruiser. Basically, it's a Grow Cruiser grow light, and I have been super impressed with it. I have got another one, and I think I'm probably going to end up buying another one as well, because I'm also using them to grow out seedlings that I have for my allotment this year. And I'll ask the question because I tried to do a video last year when I was starting off my seedlings. There was kind of some interest, but not hugely so. I am debating whether or not I will start a second channel at some point soon, talking about my journey with kind of growing vegetables and the allotment and all the kind of garden life and kind of allotment life. But if you do want to see another video on this and it helps kind of like show you some new content, maybe learn some things from the gardening side of things outdoors and kind of growing vegetables and how that might apply to houseplants, do let me know in the comments down below, because I'm more than happy to share it on here instead of starting a new channel, or I might just do both basically. But let me know. Okay, so onto this shelf. You saw before the plant that I was showing you with the yellow leaf, and I'll pick it up and show you again. And I don't know why I put the cash po back on it, because I was showing it to you before. This is the El Choco Red. So, and that one had root rot before when I first got it, and it had to regrow all of its roots, and it was doing so well. But hopefully most of these plants should bounce back. I'm hoping anyway. Let me take off the cash po before I forget. But it's doing quite well. The other thing that I did get from, and I can't remember who it was, and I'm really sorry if you see this video and I've forgotten your name, but somebody gave me this at the last London plant swap, and it was a plant that I've been looking for a while. It's still kind of, it was a baby corm that they gave me, and this is the Colocasia Pharaoh's Mask. And OMG, if you've never seen a Pharaoh's Mask, Colocasia, Google it. It looks like something that is alien. It is a beautiful, I like weird and kooky plants. This definitely falls into that category. This is still very young. So when you see a mature form of this, it is truly, truly spectacular. I don't know. I have seen, I think, is it Farmer Gracie has got bulbs, like I'm assuming probably larger, more mature tubers of the Colocasia Pharaoh's Mask. It is relatively pricey, nowhere near what it used to be. Has anybody bought some of them from Europe or the UK, and how they found them? Did they do well? Let me know, because I'm still debating that. My Colocasia Black Magic has I don't know. Last year it came back barely. I don't know whether or not it's going to do it this year. There was a debate that I had with an amazing planty person where it was just like, oh no, everything that they got at some point was the black coral, not the black magic. The black magic has got this. They were convinced. They never saw the plant in person, so I'm not sure if they can kind of make that claim too easily, but they're just like, absolutely not. It was not a black magic. It was a black coral. I'm just like, but I know what you're saying and I know how they're different, but mine feels more like, I think the black coral was a smoother leaf. The black magic was more of a velvety leaf, and the way that they emerged, how dark they are when they emerge. I think mine still ticks a lot of the boxes of the black magic. I might be wrong. I still love that plant. They are both a dark leaf, like super dark leaf, Colocasia, all of this to say, I'm okay with whichever one I've got. They look fantastic. So yeah, so I might be getting another few bulbs of that and just put it out in the garden in bigger pots, because I do really enjoy having that in the garden. It's definitely a bit of a wow chatting point. Too big for the house, do not have the light or the space in here to grow like big alocasias and colocasias for however much I love it. This is a bucket list dream thing if I ever do get my own little homestead, which I'm hoping at some point I might have enough money to do that, and some point where I might have something like a much larger, like heated greenhouse, like properly heated greenhouse, or a conservatory that's 3 or 4 times the size of this. Watch me get, or like let my plants get massive. At the moment I'm trying to minimize that. Another thing that you might notice in the frame here is my Epipremnum skeleton key, which is doing really well. I don't ever worry about my kind of pothos type plants because I went on holiday for 2.5 weeks. This was not watered. I watered it before I left. This has not been watered for 2.5 weeks. Came back, watered it, it's perked up basically. This was also something that I want to bring out to all of you as a community. Maybe drop it in the comments down below. I'd be curious to see if anybody's kind of figured out why this is happening. So with a lot of pothos plants, and this came up as a question on my channel years ago, and I answered it the best way that I could at that point. I still don't think it's the best answer. So somebody was saying with pothos type plants or Epipremnum type plants, sometimes you might, yeah, they can be quite hardy and all these things are very forgiving, but they have said sometimes the oldest leaves closest to the soil level, or sometimes somewhere along the growing stem, might yellow off and kind of like drop off, and the rest of the plant is fine. It doesn't seem like it's got any root rot. You're kind of keeping the consistent watering schedule. It's getting the right amount of light. Why does it happen? I don't know. This is the honest thing after this point, because this is getting it sometimes as well, when the odd leaf might yellow off and die off. And yes, it might just be that those leaves are coming to the end of their life and dropping off. There might be that the plant needs a very specific kind of watering regime, and maybe I haven't kind of honed in on that just yet. The plant is still growing. The growing tips are still growing. I'm still getting new leaves coming in. You can tell it's been a couple of warm days here because it's the first time I've had a new leaf on this in a few months. In the winter, it really wasn't loving life. But yeah, if you do know why some of the Epipremnums might do that, do let me know down below. I'd be really curious to see what you think it might be or what you know it might be. I'm very curious. But other than that, there is new growth on here. That is the Paraiso Verde. Has it got any variegation on it? No. So that might be a plant that's going to get gifted to somebody at some point soon, because I'm just like, it's taking up valuable space and a lot of roots, and it's not giving me what it needs to give me, basically. The Jose Bueno that is behind it, doing great. The other thing that I wanted to show you, so exciting, is here, which is... again, some of these ones are trying to dry out, which is fine because these are Anthuriums in a semi-hydro, but this is the Anthurium necrolaminum GG, and it's doing really well. It has kind of like failed a few times to bring out a new leaf. It has rooted in a lot better now. I just chopped off, this is irony as well, this plant has tried to bring out an inflorescence 3 times and I keep chopping it back, and I've chopped it off for the 3rd time, but there is a new leaf that's emerging here. So hope and pray for me that it actually brings out a leaf finally, because these are the 2 original leaves that I got with the plant. But yeah, so this one I am super excited about, and hopefully it will grow nice and large for me. Next to it is the Spiritus Sancti that you might not be able to see. I'm not picking it up because the people that have been here for a while, it hasn't changed too much. It has got a new leaf. It's about the same size as the rest of them. Still a bit underwhelmed by the Spiritus Sancti at this size. As I said, previous times, when it gets big, I will probably really, really like it. But at the moment, I'm just a bit like, this is the, where is it? I'm still picking up. So this plant had obviously had water in the cashpo, but the cashpo was a bit leaky, so there is water in the drip trays. But this is how my Oblique Peru is doing in soil, and it's doing all right actually. This one's doing really, really well. Interestingly enough, the one that I had in pond that was struggling has since started to bounce back, but there's a particularly difficult plant to kind of show you. But yes, so this one's doing okay for now. Still a slow grower, it still does what it needs to do, but it is what it is. I'm not entirely out of love with him just yet, but it's okay. It's kind of living the best life that it can live. I think I might draw a line under it here. There's a few more shelves that I could show you. If you want a part 2 of this video, do let me know. I'm just, apologies in advance on how kind of disjointed this video has been. I've only been back in the UK for about 2 or 3 days now, and I'm still trying to catch up with everything. But I know that a lot of you have missed the content, and I thought this was a nice, easy video for me to kind of film, give you updates, because I know people a lot of times ask for updates. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I am super happy to be back kind of more on my regular scheduling for this one. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoy yourselves, and hopefully I shall see you all here soon. Thanks. Bye.